of my students came into my office, and he said, you know, Rabbi, my father was the most ethical man I ever met. I don't think if my father would live the Torah, he would have been any more ethical. So I said to him, but do you think he would have been holier? So he was a little surprised at that and said, well, what do you mean? I said, that's the mistake people make. They think that the goal of Torah is to be ethical. And since they're ethical, they don't need Torah. Well, the truth is, you're supposed to be ethical before you get to Torah. That's called derech eretz kadma Torah. You're supposed to be a basically good, ethical human being. The goal of Torah is not to make you ethical. The goal of Torah is to empower you to become holy. But the question is, what does it mean to be holy? Before we live and do a mitzvah, what we do is we say a blessing, asher kidishanu b'mitzvotav. It doesn't say you have made us good people through your mitzvot. It actually says you've made us holy. The goal is to be holy. Now, you can't be holy if you're not a good person. You can't be holy if you're not an ethical person. But holiness is a whole other level that goes beyond just being ethical. What does it mean to be holy? Now, generally, most Hebrew words that are translated to English get lost in the translation. This is one of the few words that is probably the best translation, is in fact holy. But I think it's spelt wrong. It has to be spelt not H-O-L-Y, but W-H-O-L-L-Y. It means to be whole. That's what it means. It means to be complete. In fact, that's what the Kabbalah, the Zohar, the great classic, the Zohar, says, that Kadosh means shleimasa. It means wholeness. What does it mean to be whole? You know, I've had people say to me, well, is Judaism spiritual? I'm into spirituality. I like spirituality. But I don't think Judaism is so spiritual. You know what? I told them, you're right. It's not spiritual. It's much greater than spiritual. What could be greater than spiritual? Holy. You see, spiritual is the opposite of physical. So people think that if I embrace a Torah life, it's about being spiritual and giving up on the physical. It's just the opposite. The goal of Torah life is to be holy. To be holy means I am able to be both spiritual and physical and spiritual. I'm complete. I'm not dichotomized. I'm not alienated. I'm a total person. I'm a complete person in this world. What is the holiest day of the week? It's called Shabbat. But when you think about Shabbat, it's not a very spiritual day. On Shabbat, we wear our nicest clothing. We take out beautiful cutlery and plates. We eat, and we eat. And just in case we didn't eat enough, we eat. How could that be a holy day? A day of spirituality, I would think, I would eat less. In fact, on Shabbat, we get something called a double soul. And our tradition teaches that the symptoms of a double soul is that you eat double. You can eat more, and it's true. What's really amazing, on Shabbat, people are able to eat much more than any other day of the week. Is this spiritual? You don't understand. It's about being holy. When you sense that your life is part of a greater whole, then every part of your life has more value, is more interesting, is even more tasty. So on Shabbat, we're not trying to be spiritual. We're trying to see how the spiritual and the physical are part of a greater oneness. Friday night, we start off with something called Kiddush. What do we make the Kiddush on? We make it on wine. Wine? Isn't that the drink of the devil? Wine? Isn't that something that someone could get addicted to? Wouldn't it be more spiritual if we did it on water? Or maybe do it on air? No. That's exactly the point. The holier you are, the more physical you're able to be. Because now you realize that the presence of the One is everywhere. within everywhere, and everything is within him. So that's the meaning of holiness. People are afraid that if they embrace Judaism, they'll become this weird, strange person that's very spiritual and disconnected from reality. You know, today, the Torah is, as it was for thousands of years, written on parchment. When you hold up the Torah, you see a cow. I mean, you actually see the skin of a cow. Aren't we more advanced? Now we could have a holographic Torah floating in the middle of the synagogue with laser beams. Why would we print the Torah on a cow skin? Because the goal of Judaism is not to spiritualize the material, but actually to materialize the spiritual. The goal of Torah life is to take the abstract and make it concrete and see that all is one, and there is only one, the physical and the spiritual. Opposites, but opposites that are inseparable. And when you reach that level of holiness, you discover the greatest joy, that all is one and always will be one, and we find that all the opposites are truly two sides of one inseparable coin.